The broadcast is live.
Hello, it's
Hi.
Wednesday.
Hey, it's another Q&A with PJ and Alicia.
It is. I didn't think that we honestly would be here doing another Q&A. Surely I thought that there would be no more pandemic, but here we are, and I'm happy that we are here because this is going to be a really great addition to Quarantine Q&A.
I agree. You know, one of the best things about kind of pushing us to our limits in prevention and having to look outside the box is the fact that we've had to find other people from different parts of the United States to be a part of this content. And it's funny, and you can probably agree with this, that many of the people we've had are echoing the same things that we experience here in Orlando.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely, all of the stuff that we're experiencing right now is kind of just like a global family issue that, not even just in the United States, but everywhere, all across the world that people are definitely feeling, in terms of the pandemic and, in terms of current events. Absolutely, 100%. So,
and now I'm going to also share it, create watch parties and stuff for it now too.
Yeah, so while you're doing that, I'll just introduce myself really quickly. A lot of you, if you have been watching the quarantine Q&As, you might know PJ and myself. My name is Alicia. I work at Hope and Help. I'm a health educator in the prevention department. So before all of this, we did a lot of outreach and a lot of testing. And now we're kind of focusing on education and, different ways of reaching out to people, not physically, but through a small screen like we're doing right now. So and it has been a learning curve and really cool actually for me. And then PJ, would you like to give a little?
Yeah. So I'm PJ Queen. I am a health educator over here at Hope and Help, and now I've moved into also a counseling role. I'm a clinical social worker, formally trained. So I love working with my group called Style, Strength Through Youth Living Empowered, which is a young male-focused group for same-gender loving men of any background who are living with HIV, who want to learn how to live their best life with HIV. And it is my pleasure to be a part of the prevention team and with Alicia here to kind of talk to you guys about a great subject that's really impacted me personally, emotionally, and I know it's impacted other people in this community. And I'm super happy to have our guest on today.
Yes. So without further ado, I feel like that is a great segue into bringing on our guests. So let me plug them in. Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
So we have two lovely guests today. We have Ms. Keena Harris and we have Tyson Black. So if you guys want to go ahead and just introduce yourselves and maybe do a little bit about just either where you work or, what kind of different social media things you have going on. And Keena, we'll start with you.
Okay. Hi, guys. My name's Keena Harris. I work at the LGBT Plus Center Orlando. I'm the manager of HIV services here. So, yeah. Come see me. But if you come see me to get tested, make sure you have a mask. You haven't been outside of the state of Florida in the past 14 days. You have not interacted with anyone with COVID-19 in the past 14 days. You have not experienced a fever greater than 100, difficulty breathing, or any coughing in the past 14 days. Thank you.
Okay. Take it over.
Yep. Yeah. Just unmute you.
Oh, you're muted. Here, wait. There you go.
There we go. Is that better?
Yeah.
I did a dance and everything. I'm going to do this like I do on my YouTube channel. Ooh. What's up, guys? It's your boy, Ty, the self-love content creator. I make content about self-love with Black gay men, whether that be skincare, spirituality, mental health. And now we're doing this. We're doing activist stuff. I'm so happy. But anyway, you guys, yeah, my name is right there. You can follow, or right there on the screen. You can follow me on Instagram. Get connected. Let's start a conversation and let's just love on each other.
Awesome.
I love that. That's a
Thank
great
you for
message.
that.
Yeah. So our topic today for the quarantine Q&A is racism and colorism in the LGBTQ community. And then PJ, do you want to take us away with our first question, our first topic?
Yeah, so Tyson, my first question is to you, and then Keena, you'll also have an opportunity to answer. But I want to direct it. So my very first question is, I am also someone who's same gender loving and in this community, and also someone who defines as color. But I have this question that I would like to give to you first. Can you tell us your experience within the LGBTQ plus community as a person of color, what that has been like for you?
It's crazy that it's 2020 and I still feel like an other within the community, because we people of color, well, not people of color, we Black people, it's a difference. We still navigate those white spaces. So going in, I know we're going to talk about this later, but going in, I feel like a piece of meat. I feel like I'm there for their enjoyment. I feel like I have to shrink myself down, smile more, be approachable within those spaces, because me and you are Black gay men. So we have two things against us, and you too as well, being a woman. I don't know what you identify as, but you being a Black woman, you know, we have to keep eyes behind our back when we navigate those spaces. So yeah, I still feel like I don't have my place in that community, or I don't even know if I even want to have my place within that community.
Okay. Thank you for your response. Keena, what are your thoughts?
Well, as an ally, it's already like separate in the community, because, you know, obviously you want members, like prominent members of the community, actual people who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, to be, you know, in the forefront and the voices of the community, right? But when it comes to like allyship, allies tend to look the same, or the allies that are put on platforms tend to look the same, as in white.
Yeah.
So as a Black, also woman, as an ally, it's like we're like the other, if that makes sense. Like we're like the lowest on the ally totem pole, when I feel like as allies, we're the most in the community, probably. You know what I mean? Like we're the more like on the ground, like in the actual spaces, versus the ones that are broadcasted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. And you know what? Before I turn it over, I'm going to weigh in on this one too. With firsthand lived experience, a part of this community, you know, coming out at the age of 22, and going for most of my beginning life as someone who defined as heterosexual, and living that life as a straight Black man, and then switching over, you find out that the privileges you had as a straight Black man, even though they were limited, you find out that you have far less when you become a Black other in an LGBTQ space.
Yep.
And we'll unpack that more, but it was such a wake-up call for me when I kind of came out and I was thinking, it's raining men, when I was like, it's raining issues. So, and we'll definitely unpack that more, but that's what I'll trade it over to you now, Alicia, with.
Love that. It's really an issue.
More issues than Playboy. That's but
definitely.
Just quickly before we get to the next question, I do really, especially, I echo what you said as an ally, because I am a double ally as someone, you know, that is white or white presenting, and then is also an ally to the LGBTQ community. It is really frustrating to see people, you know, that should not necessarily be having that much of a voice, you know, be stifling people that deserve to be in the spotlight, especially, you know, we'll talk about this later, but obviously, you know, with Stonewall having that anniversary, and we're talking about all these riots, and we're, you know, we should be amplifying the voices of the people that worked so hard in the past, you know, to get us to where we are right now. But again, that being said, that kind of leads us into the next question too. In so many gay spaces or LGBTQ spaces across America, Black people and Afro-Latino people feel so underrepresented. What do we think is the root cause of that, and how can we increase visibility in those spaces where we need it the most? I'll divert to you, Kina.
So how do we, okay, let me think. So in my opinion, at least like right now with, you know, the whole like Black Lives Matter movement being very prominent. So we see how there are discussions, which we can get into later, about like you're Black before you're anything else, right? Like what I present to the world, like first I'm a Black something. Like you don't know my gender, you don't know what I identify as, you don't know what I was born as, but you can see the color of my skin and know that whatever I am, I'm Black first, right? So I feel like even in the gay community, what your skin color presents first. So we even like now that the gay community is receiving, you know, better rights. I mean, they're not where they need to be, but there are rights that are finally being put into legislation and all of that. There's still a community within a community. It's still the gay community, which is first white presenting, right? White males got more, or not acceptance, but more tolerance, because acceptance is not where we're at. But like white males in the gay community received more tolerance than women. Then those women, okay, so now we got white males still, we got white women, we got white presenting males, presenting women. Then we have some people of color males, people of color women. Then we got our Black gay males, our Black lesbians, women, and then our Black trans community. Like it's literally like we are, like the gay community is like a microcosm of American society. Like it's still
yeah.
Regardless of we identify as LGBT, whatever, we're still like, this is still America 101. You're at the bottom of the totem pole. Like you're LGBT, cool, great. But you have your own racism, discrimination, segregation within that community as well. It's like, just because we're all discriminated against in one situation doesn't mean that there isn't discrimination within. And that's the issue that I still don't understand how like minority groups discriminate against other minority groups. Like,
yeah.
What is happening? So,
yeah. Did you want to build on that or add to that, or did you have anything you want to say to that, Ty?
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to Latinx and Black people, gay or straight, cis, doesn't matter. We're not even on the totem pole. We're something underneath, especially when it comes to Black women. And right under Black women is it's more like you said, it's trans women than it's Black women. Mm-hmm. So basically, I'm gonna talk how we can increase the let me go to my notes. I don't want to mess this up. So yeah, basically, like you said, like I said earlier, I still feel like I'm not within the LGBT community. I feel like I'm not within the Black community. I'm somewhere over here, anime fingers, trying to figure it out. And I am, like you said, I don't understand how marginalized group. I don't feel like I don't understand why other communities at the bottom with me still be against me. Mm-hmm. And I learned that it's all about the status quo. Media, Hollywood, it's imprinted in our minds. We're going to follow the status quo of white supremacy. That's why we have issues with each other. That's why we can't get together unless unfortunately, I know people hate when people say this, we cannot get together unless somebody's dead or murdered in the street like George Floyd. we need to build those. We need to build with each other before that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we will ever heal from that, because white supremacy is still in control. So I don't know.
I feel like there's definitely a system in place that has put minorities against other minorities, right? Like we have been trained to battle each other for a position.
A house slave.
And I don't even like, what is that position? Like tolerance by white supremacy? Like that's really what we're battling for. Like who looks better in the eye of the master, right? Like who the mastermind, right. Whoever's in control. And so I don't know what it will take for people to realize that we're all minorities or all marginalized under this one like system. But that has to happen. And then we also have to have people like actual leaders that are not self-serving leaders. There are so many there are so many people like even like in the LGBT community, in my opinion, there are too many people that represent marginalized communities within the LGBT community that once they make it, they don't properly reach back and bring others with them. Like they'll hold that position for just way too long. Mm-hmm. And it's like, just because I've made it doesn't mean my sister's made it. And if my sister hasn't made it, then I haven't made it. And unfortunately, too many people don't look at it like that. So we're just going to continue to have this cycle every 5-10 years. There's one new something, right? There's one new person that represents this whole community, and no one person can represent a whole community. So that's why you can never have one person up there. It needs to be like a spectrum, right? Because everything's a spectrum. So your opinion of Black culture or LGBT Black culture or LGBT culture won't be mine. So if we only have one person representing to the masses that already look at us as, then we're not going to get it there.
So you bring me to my question, and you lead into it very well, with us as people of color in the LGBT community being second-class citizens in many ways. But I want to rephrase it. I want to rephrase it to incorporate some of the elements that you guys are stating, basically about being of color first, right? I'm Black and then something else, right? Which goes for our counterparts. They are white and something else, right? So my question about what you're saying with opportunities not being there, or people holding positions longer than they're supposed to be, and so on, do you also feel that is because of the affluent white gays or the non-minority gays in power at the very top that are creating this structure, right? So they're sitting there saying like, okay, well, we need that diversity higher, so we'll only make one space available. So the one person who attains that space, of course, they want to keep that space. So how do you guys feel like it? Do you feel like non-gays of color that are in power are perpetuating this class system intentionally, not intentionally? Why is the system here if we're all marginalized? I'm going to give it to you, Tyson, first.
Okay, it is here because ever since slavery, it all started with the house slave. That's definitely the root of it. Basically, if I show like this is the type of Black that we like, so people it will create a divide.
Except they don't like.
Except, thank you. So basically, there's a trickle down effect, the generation and generation. When it comes to jobs, when it comes to the model minority, it creates a kind of a faction between us and other minorities that's in a corporate setting. So that basically starts the whole, there can only be one. When it comes to Black people that look like me and look like the rest of us in here, it's like, okay, we're gonna, like you said, we're gonna fill that position. We only gonna make that position available for one Black person because we need that diversity, because we don't want to get sued or anything. So it creates like, okay, I'm not about to help out my sister, even though I'm winning. I'm not going to help out my sister because I don't want to lose my job. So it keeps people from speaking up. It keeps people from doing the right thing. And it actually keeps us from creating generational wealth, because what creates generational wealth is teaching other people below us and lifting them up, our brothers and sisters, and teaching them. So when I leave, I can still leave my mark and say, you know what? I taught his person, I taught him. So now I can leave on, and then they can do the same thing and lift someone up as well. That's how generational wealth will be created in America. But unfortunately, even me as a content creator, when it comes to getting sponsorships, working with companies, I get paid so less than my other white counterparts and stuff like that. So even myself, I admit it, I didn't want to help other Black people, because it was like, if I speak up and speak out, and I have, thank God, my anti-Blackness is gone, and I love myself. So basically, now that I speak up and try to lift other people up, it makes it so hard to get sponsorships and be paid equally. And that's why people don't help other people in the corporate setting. They don't help people to look like us, because I'm trying to make it. And if I say something, I'm the uppity Black person, basically.
Or you feel like you can't afford to, like literally.
Yeah.
And so before I transition to Kina, one thing I want to put out there, I'm traditionally trained in clinical mental health, right? And one of the theories that we stayed on for weeks was the theory of cultural psychosocial development for persons of color. So we, at phases through our development, go through what's called anti-Black phases as Black people. This is fundamentally a part of who we are. Some of us stay in it for days, weeks, months, years, for the rest of our life. Because what happens? Yeah, because when you walk out into a field of people that don't look like you, who own different things that you could never own in theory, have opportunities to things that you'll never have in theory, be with people that you'll never be with in theory, it creates this internal conflict that is just seething in you, like anger. Like, why do I want to be something that I have no control over? So I say never blame yourself for a temporary passing through that, because it's natural. It's true to our nature. Like if I was I'm a chubby guy, whenever I walk into a room full of people who are muscular, I start to have those internal conflict. But I just wanted to give you props on that honesty, because a lot of us who go through those will not admit that. And we end up picking two paths. We'll either overcompensate and become the stereotype, one way or the other. We'll become like a Candace. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Or we'll go the opposite direction.
Never that.
And we'll be too hardcore.
Yeah.
So,
no,
what is your thoughts on us as persons of color in the second class system? What's perpetuating it? What's keeping us there? What structural elements are there?
So I feel like Tyson was saying, we find ourselves in these places where we feel like we can't lift each other up because we're fighting for the same position, right? Or we're fighting to keep our own income, like our own flow of income. And I feel like growing up, like, I'm not going to speak for the whole Black community, but I feel like the Black community, like, you are taught to fend for self so much just because no one else will fend for you. Like, it's like no one will do as much for you as you will do for yourself. So if I'm worrying about like bringing other people up, am I doing the work for myself? Am I able to provide for myself? Am I able to, provide for my family if I'm worrying about someone else? Which we don't have a sense of community in the same sense as other minorities do, in my opinion. Like, maybe our community that we see, but not like our community that's over here, right? Like, I feel like the Asian American community is so good at setting up their cousin's sister's brother's wife, right? Like, the Black community has this sense of, well, if I don't know her, and it's not because we don't want to help other people or we don't have the means to help other people, but it's like, what if X, Y, and Z happens to where I can no longer provide for myself, but I've put this other person in this situation that I could have been in myself that will allow me to provide. And I feel like the Black community is so held back, is so burdened with that mindset that we have to prepare for the worst at all times. Like, I feel like the coronavirus is like the world's version of the Black struggle on a daily basis. Whoa. Like, oh my God, everything stopped. No income. Like, what are my backup plans? Like, we don't have backup plans. Shit. Now we're living paycheck to paycheck. Oh my God. Like, that's like the middle class, lower class Black experience. And so I feel like when people finally get some power or some money or something like that, they're just too afraid of losing it to help others. And then the solution that I see for that is stop trying to fit into white spaces and create more Black spaces to where we have the power over the hiring, over the distribution of money. So we're not worried about losing our position when we created the positions. So if we're creating the positions, if we're creating, all of these streams of revenue for everyone, and we're making sure that it's legit, we're making sure that it's consistent, we won't have to worry about, oh, I can't help so-and-so because what if this happens to me? You know what I mean? Like, we need more spaces of color, especially Black spaces, because like Tyson said, there is a difference between Black and people of color, that if we have more of those spaces, then we will be able to help more of us.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I would like to, if I can, I would like to build on that. We had our own spaces, you guys. And I want you, if you guys didn't know this, I want you guys to never forget this. We had our own spaces. In the 50s and 60s, there were Black communities popping up everywhere. Black people, they had their own money, good jobs, going to school. We had all that. In New York, never forget this, you guys, Central Park was a Black community. And they're like, oh, no, be real. Oh, these niggers they're doing too much. They're living they're getting too close to our vicinity. They're getting they're getting the upper echelon. Well, and so they basically, what they did, they destroyed them. They forced them to move out of their good communities and put them in these ghettos, and then bulldoze it and made Central Park. Yep. And then they say stuff like, oh, they want to stay in the ghetto. You put us there. It's also the reason why
the ghetto. You made it a ghetto.
Exactly. Yeah. And when that happened, that's when the credit system started with credit cards. It was a system created to keep Black people from getting up and stuff, because the credit system was not meant for us, for like credit cards and stuff like that. So just a little food for thought. Never forget that we had our own communities. It was in New York and California where our communities was destroyed, and then they moved us, and then they build their own communities or a park for their dogs and stuff.
To piggyback off that real quick, there's where was Black Wall Street again? What city was that in?
Wasn't that in New York?
Oh, God.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, I want to say, I don't want to be wrong.
Are you talking about Tulsa? No, not Tulsa.
Tulsa, Oklahoma, freaking Homa. We had Black communities in the Midwest, the South. Florida has its own history with Black communities. It's very hidden, barely talked about, but it's called Rosewood, right? Rosewood.
Rosewood.
Basically, it was a Black community that was thriving. I mean, like, they had so many homes. They had like general stores, and then it was pillaged through, like, because of the typical a Black man talked to a white woman, that whole 50s thing, whatever. And they burned that place to the ground. So like, when the thing that annoys me the most, like Tyson says, is like, they want to stay in the ghettos, or they say stuff like, people say stuff like, oh, well, you just want handouts, or you want you just want to use the system, or you want just things like that. It's like our Black people built so many things. There were Black owned banks. There are so few Black owned banks these days. Like, come on now. Like, there are so many people with so much wealth that there could be so many Black owned banks, but there are so many systems in place that it's just not allowed. And whoever that Facebook user is, yes, that stuff is not talked about in high school. You learn most of that stuff in college in African American studies. Yeah. You have to legit take
to go out of your way
studies to learn about Black American history. Like, I didn't get to choose in high school, in middle school, do I want to learn white American history versus Black American history? Because obviously those point of views are very different. But
I mean, and one of the things where I transition it over to Alicia, is that you guys are laying a great foundation for the audience to understand the intersectionality of being of color and LGBT, because now we're going to continue to build on the layers of, okay, we are same gender loving people of color that are coming into our sexual orientation with this foundation of oppression in history. So it's like, I'm coming in with an axe. So I'm coming in with these things to deal with. And now I'm going to move into my LGBT aspect of also another layer, which is a little bit different. So you're making more layers to this cake for the audience to understand our history, because it's super important. History is context. History is everything. If you don't remember, you're doomed to repeat it. At least that's all I have to say.
Yeah. So, and then something that obviously everyone has been, echoing is that how important representation is, how important it is to have those spaces and to build inside those spaces and to build up, Black voices in those spaces. So I'll just phrase this way. If you even just Google like LGBTQ, almost all of the pictures are going to be of white people. They're going to almost all be of white men. And if there are people of color, they're going to be, for the most part, light-skinned, and how has, colorism played out for you personally in your community, or if not necessarily in the sense of LGBTQ, but maybe for you, Kina, how has that played out for you in the community that you work with? And I'll let you answer first.
Me first?
Yeah, sorry.
So colorism is huge in the Black community and especially the LGBT community. I already feel like Black people are looked upon as like I feel like Black people are fetishized in every community, first of all, right? So, or Black people are like, well, I don't normally date Black people, but or you're an exception, or you're not that Black, or you pass as X, Y, and Z, right? So like colorism plays into that, where fairer skinned Black people their Blackness is diminished to the point where like they're now acceptable Black people, right? Or they're prettier Black people, because we're equating their beauty, we're equating their lack of melanin to beauty, because it's closer to white European aesthetics standards, right? So like when campaigns like Black is Beautiful goes out, like that's actually needed. And it's so sad, because like growing up, I always had like a problem with my color, because my mom is so fair, right? My mom is like a little tanner than Alicia, okay? So like my upbringing, like I see my fair mom and my dad is like very dark skinned, right? So like I had this conflict of, well, I'm a brown skinned girl, but I grow up with like a fair skinned mom who people don't think is my mom. Like we have these really skewed understandings of Blackness and like how genetics works and how what's perceived as acceptable or beautiful in like all communities. And then I think when we break it down to the LGBT community, it's like, I feel like everyone just like you're my entertainment or my thing to play with, or when it comes to Black people, like you're my toy. Like, oh, Tyson's shaking his head. Okay, you're like you're like that cute Black guy. Why can't it just be a cute guy? Like, why now the Black guy? You know what I mean? It's just like I don't know. Tyson, take it over. Take it over, Tyson.
And you saying that, I've heard this all my life. Well, not all my life. Maybe when I went to college, when I was in my 20s, and I heard it the other day from a white guy or a light-skinned guy. Oh, you're cute for a dark-skinned guy.
Oh my God.
Makes my skin crawl. Like, stuff like that, and seeing these stuff in social media and not social media, but Hollywood and in magazines growing up. Like I said earlier, I just started loving myself. Well, loving yourself is an everyday thing, especially when you're decoding white supremacy, when you're decoding colorism. So I grew up hating myself, hated my skin, I hated my nose. I have 4C hair. I have a 4C beard, so I hated it. I used to relax my hair because in the media they had Bow Wow and Snoop Dogg and stuff like this, and like it was, and they had like the activator for guys to activate their hair. Like, this is the curl pattern to have. This is beautiful. This is ugly. So growing up, like, I just totally hated myself. So when you start to love yourself, and Karina, and I know the rest of you guys are going to agree with me. When you start to love yourself, it's like, how dare you? How dare you love yourself? You're other. How dare you love yourself? So it's like, damn, I can't even win for losing. Like, it is so hard to navigate being gay, and also within the community, because some people might get mad when I say this, but when it comes to Black gay men within the community, you guys heard this before. Oh my God, I'm so white woman today. Like, even saying that, even though it's a joke, it's toxic. It's like Black people, like I said, when you show whiteness all your life, it's imprinted in your brain. You try to aspire to whiteness. Yeah. So I used to hate myself. I didn't want to date anyone of my skin tone. They had to be light skinned. But even with that, even when like dating white guys, I wasn't Black enough. So it's like I said, I just can't fucking win. And it's so frustrating. And it's one of the reasons why I'm such a damn introvert. I'm still trying to break out of that, because white supremacy and colorism will make you feel this small. Especially when you only there was a tweet, and I had to delete it because people was going in. I said, and I still stand by this, dark-skinned men and women are only appreciated when we're muscular, and dark-skinned women are only appreciated when they have not natural hair, when they have a weave or their hair is straightened, when they have an ass. It's like we're fetishized so much. And like I said, when we speak up for ourselves, it's like, how dare you speak up for yourself? How dare you go back in that box?
Yeah.
So
for many, I feel like for many of us, when you sit there and you're trying to date, you're trying to find friends, you're trying to connect with many people as a person of color. Let's not even add the LGBTQ part into it yet. So when you're a person of color, right, before I even open my mouth and I start conversations with you, you have my resume already in your mind of what I'm going to do, what I'm going to say, and how I'm going to act. So when I tell you that I'm African American and I like rock, that's unacceptable. I tell you I say, hey, I'm PJ, I like hip hop. Check, bing, bing, fits the narrative that I believe about you. Okay, well, let's say I have kids. Bing, bing, check. That's the narrative that I feel about you. Regardless whether I'm married, regardless whether I'm a doctor, I tell you things that are congruent to the stereotype that you have with me in your mind. It's easier for me to be allowed into your home, into your warmth, and into your friendship versus me be this outlier, which really isn't an outlier. There's many of us, but we don't get the space that we deserve and the representation that we deserve. So it's like, okay, we're constantly going against the supremacy narrative. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that. And then you add colorism on top of it, and it's like, oh God, I'm this dark, I can't get away with nothing. It's like I can have a light-skinned friend who just does crazy things, and they're like, every dude will holler at them, every dude will start chasing or running after him, and I'm like, wait a minute.
If they're problematic.
I find the person not as attractive. I find the person not as fit. I find the person not as this, and then like, yet these people are seeing gold out of this skin tone. And then I ask some people, I'll be like, what do you think about that friend of mine? I'm like, oh yeah, he's so yellow, he's so red. And that's the only thing they can say. And I'm like, so wow, you as a person of color are also fetishizing other persons of color because of the lack of blackness.
So do you think that that's like kind of a way of saying too that you're only ever extended like tokenism, like you can only ever be that person to people that are not Black, or obviously from what you're saying to even to some people that are?
It's like a slippery slope. It's like, do you know why you like me or whoever other than my color, other than my culture, other than the stereotypes that you believe? Like, what is it that makes you interested other than, oh, I'm gonna date a Black girl, or oh, I'm gonna date a Black guy, or like, what about them other than them being Black? What about them other than them being light skinned? What about them other than their stereotypical features? What about them other than the culture that you want? What about them? Like, what is it about them that you can tell me that makes you so interested? And if there is something, that's what we want. But if there isn't, then I'm a fetish. Then I'm the token. And no one wants to be the token. No one wants to be an exception to your rule or an exception to, like society. Like, no. So when people are so up in arms about, I know we're going to get into this later, but interracial dating, it's like, what other than being close to this is appealing to you?
Yep. And I think one thing, before I transition into my question, because I kind of went on a tangent, but my thing about it is that when I was primarily dating not men of color, which I now exclusively only date men of color, when I was dating everyone under the sun, and when I was like saying like, what do you like about me 6 dates in, and literally and it was like only about my color, or only things that clearly weren't true about me. Like, I love that you love hip hop. I'm like, when have I ever played hip hop music? And they're like, oh yeah, don't you like Lil Wayne? And I'm like, we've been on 6 dates. How do you know that's not like an artist that I play? And then I start getting angry and elevating my voice, and then I become the angry Black man for truly feeling wrong and misunderstood and hurt by you. But that's the transition into, how do y'all feel about celebrities skin bleaching? Because basically that's a long way around about people who go through what we go through, try to adapt, try to change to fit this narrative. So how do we feel about celebs? Like Beyonce from the early days to Beyonce now. Just
we talk about this all the time, by the way.
Tyson, I'll start with you. How do you feel about bleaching, adapting, changing to fit a white narrative?
Well, basically, they don't want anyone too Black or too dark when it comes to celebrities. So to fit that narrative, they do it for survival, so they'll keep going. We've all seen. I'm gonna do artists because I used to work with independent artists, but basically, they had a struggle of, should I lighten my skin, because that's what's put in our face all the time. So if you're a celebrity in that group of celebrity, in that pool, I won't be shocked. I'd be shocked if you didn't skin bleach, to be honest, because That's what white America wants. When it comes to celebrities, that's what they want.
Wow.
I mean, have you noticed that before Beyonce bleached her skin and Rihanna, I remember growing up, there was a whole debacle of, I think it was Vogue magazine or Elle. They made her like a white woman.
Mm.
The whole cover, she looked like a white woman. So when I like I said, like when we like the question earlier, when you grow up seeing that media says this is what you're supposed to do, that's what's going to happen. People are going to bleach their skin, even without even thinking about it. It's subconscious. You're going to want to do it. Nigeria is the blackest place ever in Trinidad, the Caribbean, but Nigeria is the capital of skin bleaching. The capital. And even products that we use in America sell skin bleaching products in Nigeria. Nivea and Dove, they sell skin bleaching products in Nigeria, and that's why I no longer use Nivea, even though it was thick as hell anyways, but I no longer use their products. So that is pedal to us all the time. And it's like every move, even in stores that we never even, it's like at a CVS, I saw like the skin bleaching bar. I was like, what? Why are they selling skin bleaching? Even at the dollar store, they were selling skin bleaching. So they're trying to erase our blackness. And I'm gonna end this by saying this, because I know I'm talking a lot, but this all started in Jim Crow with all the propaganda. There was this company called I think it was called Cook Soap, and they had an ad saying, it was this little girl looking at this black girl. Why don't your mama wash you with magic Cook Soap? And there was another one of this white woman. This is a whole ad, you can Google it, of this white woman washing this black boy, and as she washed him, he turned white. And there was these little black boys waiting, looking out the window, waiting for their turn to turn white. Yep. So this is imprinted in us a long time ago. My mom, my sisters, oh, Tyson, don't be out in the sun too long. You're already black enough. So it's like, it's imprinting. It's like we have to decode and we have to remove all that brainwashing that was put on us through propaganda. Yeah. And it's subtle too. It's very evil. Yep. It's very small. It's subtle, but okay.
Microaggression.
Yeah. Like,
what's your thought on it?
I agree with Tyson. Like, okay, side story really quick. I have these really horrible nicknames that I won't name who calls me. And one of them is Blackie.
What?
They're black too. That's besides, and we're related. So that's besides the point. But we're like the same color, one. And our color is like, I don't know where it's a he also, believes that we differ, but it's like, why did we grow up thinking that that was okay or appropriate, or just because
or comparing arms? I'm lighter than you. I'm lighter than you.
Exactly. Or like, I was in the sun too long. Like, you're going to be burnt, or like comparing someone to toast. Like, I hate commercials.
Having childhood flashbacks.
I hate commercials where they compare skin color with toast. Like, I don't know what we're doing. Like, now I'm burnt because I'm darker. Okay. So like we have this ingrained in our mind to where darker skin is unacceptable, or it's like it's a derogatory thing to say to someone that like, you're darker and you're darker. You know what I mean? So when it comes to like celebrities and stuff like that, I'm not shocked, like Tyson said, because the image of beauty or acceptability is lighter skin. And it's ingrained in us so much so that when darker skinned, yes, I said darker skinned, because let's say like Normani, beautiful girl. That girl is not dark skinned. She's brown skin. Like, she's on a spectrum, of course, right? But she is not of dark skin. She's barely darker than me. And we hold her up as a dark skinned queen. Like, so we're saying that her skin is acceptable. She is the dark skin that we accept. When there are girls with just as much talent as her that are of darker complexion than her, but they're like, oh, we're not going to give them as much airtime. We're not going to give them as much marketing budget. Because like that's not what sells. This is like the darkest we will allow to put our money into, and that's what we're gonna sell. Like you see that in the music business, in the like in all aspects of the entertainment business. Like yes, this girl is of darker skin tone, but she is not the darkest of skin tone, and she does not represent darker skin tones. And it even in the YouTube community, like I follow some YouTube beauty bloggers who have really deep, rich, dark skin, and Nima is gorgeous. That girl's beautiful,
gorgeous, chocolate, buttery, love her,
beautiful. And like their engagement lower, their sponsorships their connection like, but they pound out better content, but that's not acceptable. That's not what we want our brand to look like. We want your money, but we won't represent you. So
right.
I understand why some people bleach their skin. Like I don't personally, I don't think I could do that, but like I would understand where it came from. Like I would understand why someone felt pressured to do so, or not even pressured. Someone subconsciously felt like, yeah, that's a part of what I should be doing. Like that's a step I need to take to make it in whatever business I want to make it in. Like I get that.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's super important that. What were we gonna say?
I was going to just say about the music industry. Like I said, I've done a lot. I should tattoo on me. I've done a lot. Like I said, I work for an independent artist, and I talk to artists at a very low level, local, and they've been signed to these labels, and some of them been signed to like big labels like it's gone. I forgot what label she was signed to, but she can sing, dance, rap, but her label will push her album back, and when this new light-skinned artist come, push her to the forefront, and that girl can barely sing, barely. She can hold a tone. She can keep a harmonized a little, but she can barely sing. So, like I said, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised people are not skin bleaching more, because it's just now, like in 2015, that's when people started talking about, with the natural hair community, start talking about dark skin acceptance and stuff like that. And even with that, you got to have a certain curl pattern to be accepted. Let's be honest. Yeah, that's all I want to say.
And, we're coming up.
You okay?
We're coming up on our hour. We're coming up on our hour. So I'm gonna, if Alicia's okay with it, we'll do maybe 2 more questions with you guys, and then we'll do our closing thoughts. If you guys are okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure, because I know that with this, we could go on for hours upon hours. I mean, I have childhood trauma that is being sparked up by just listening to it. Because I'm like, oh my God, I've had that moment. And then you flashed me back to when I was 13 and my dad said, you know what, Preston, you speak white. Cried for 3 days straight. Cried. He said, son, you speak like a white child. I said, he's my dad, and literally made me cry for 3 days straight. The trauma that we endure as Black people in this country is profound. And then you add the gay trauma on top of that. And then we as people who are marginalized are never uplifted to share our voices, but we're doing it now. So I want to give the opportunity to Alicia to what you want to ask.
Oh. Spotlight on me, but okay. So we've kind of glazed over this topic just a little bit, but I think it's something that everybody wants to talk about, which is, do you feel fetishized, and what are okay, so it's obvious to me, I think, even just looking at like the porn community and things like that, when you let's say you go onto a certain website, right? And you're like, okay, blah, blah. And then you see all this, BBC and white stepmom and, black stepson and all of this stuff. How, have you, in your experience, have you felt fetishized by other people that were not of color or that were not black? Or do you feel fetishized sometimes in your own community? And what has that experience been like for you? And Ty, I'll let you answer first.
Okay, Grindr is black gay hell.
Ooh.
So many times, I'm gonna say this like they say all the time. Like they have no interest in me but my skin tone. This is exactly. They even sent a voice note to say it. Oh my God, let me see your nigger dick. No, they said cock, but cock is the most unattractive word, by the way.
Agreed. Agreed.
It is so disgusting and dehumanizing to feel like a piece of meat so many times. Like I have to make it's a damn shame. I am attracted to white guys, but I ain't got time for that. I'd rather date someone that knows me and that gets my struggle. I don't want to have to decode if this guy is fetishizing me and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that I'm so happy for social media because ever since the murder of George Floyd, there's been so many interracial breakups, and I'm so excited. I have no issue about interracial relationships, no issue. But at the same time, people are being exposed, and I am gagging. I love it.
It's exposed to power struggle. Yeah.
Exactly. This guy.
We're here for that.
Because this guy basically, he did screenshot, as we all do, receipts. He basically said, wow, I just broke up with my boyfriend because he basically was saying things about the murder of George Floyd and about blah, 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 and some other stuff. And his white, pasty boyfriend said, with so much mayo, said, shut up and just give me that nigger cock. And I was like, I'm not surprised. It's so sad that I'm not even fucking surprised at this point. Because let's talk about preferences, okay? People love to throw out their preferences. Nobody cares about your preferences, okay? However, if your preferences is based in racism, I'm gonna get close to the camera. If your preferences is based in racism, fuck you. Because there's so many times I've seen on Grindr, no rice, no spice, no watermelon, no tacos, none of that. That's based on racism. I'm telling you, white gays on Grindr, that's based in racism. I have an issue with your preference if your preference puts you up here and everybody else down here when it comes to the no fat, no films thing. I have an issue with that. Mm-hmm. If your preference affects my self-love and my mental health, that's an issue.
And as you're continuing,
when it comes to,
and as you're continuing from the audience, someone asks you directly, when you have dated or hooked up with white guys, have you felt more accepted or rejected by the black community? Someone added that directly to you.
Can you answer that?
Okay.
I think everybody can answer that.
No. Well, from the the cis heterosexual community, they don't give a fuck. I'm Maria other. They don't care. But when it comes to the black community within the gay community, some of them even got accounts blocked got white people blocked because they didn't want them commenting under my page and stuff like that. And they have had an issue. And I'm gonna say this again. I love myself, so I don't really give a fuck if I'm accepted by the black community if I do date a white guy. But it does come with its challenges. Like I said, it's hard to date a white guy because, like I said, I have to I don't want to have a guessing game if they're just doing fetish things. And like PJ said, it's usually very obvious. They know nothing about me. Everything's based on stereotypes. All they care is about my cock. Ugh. All they care is about that. So, yeah, I don't date white guys. Just like PJ said, I want melanin. I want somebody that understands my struggle. Maybe I need to stop. I feel like I'm putting myself out there because I'm single. so yeah, and Karina, I know Karina, you could definitely talk about it because it is different for Black women when they date a white guy. So
for me, I mean, it's a lot. Okay, so let's start with I hate this word because I can't say it plurally. Okay, fetishization, blah blah blah. Being a fetish,
I can't say it either.
I feel like I'm a fetish all the time, and it's from everywhere. First of all, Black women are a fetish to everybody. One, like, oh, you have a big ass, great. Do I have anything else? Did you even look at my face first? No? Got it. Okay. Then we have, oh, you have big boobs. I've had them my whole life. They're basically a burden to me, but you love it. Okay. Then it's like, oh, but you have natural hair. Okay. So then that's where we get to these preferences. And then it's like, what does that preference do for you? Like, does that preference build you up? No. Does that preference support you mentally? No. Okay. Does that preference, like, what does it make you money? No. Okay. So what is the preference? I'm confused. Like, what are you getting from this? Nothing. I can understand like wanting to be with someone who understands you and who has a similar background as you, who has a similar culture as you. That makes sense to me because it's a kinship, it's a similarity. I get that. But like, I want to date a Black girl. For what? Like what does it do? Like for why? And then okay, and then let's talk about this question where have you hooked up with, okay, from my point of view, when I've been interested in white guys or like looked at white guys, I have a internal conversation. I wonder if this guy's family is racist. I wonder if this will happen if I'm left in a room with his blah, blah, blah. I wonder if I'm going to be put in awkward situations where something is said completely out of pocket and I'm going to be the one to defend myself and only me defend myself. I wonder if this white guy will ever go to bat for me. I wonder if, and then that's just on that side. Then now let's talk about the Black community. Oh my God, the Black community's response to when Black women are with white men is the most disrespectful, like, picture painted. You're a bed wench. What are we? Like, what is this? Like, so I'm a slave now because I'm with a white guy. Because white guys are masters and Black women are house slaves that are just used as sexual toys. So that's where this whole, like, you're a fetish comes from, because like, well, we had women who lived in plantation homes and were used for sex and were used to procreate, but we don't respect the offspring of those sexual sessions. No. So Black women with white men are often looked at as like just a slave master relationship, and or your relationship isn't respected, or you're a sellout, or you don't like Black men, or you think you're better, or there's so many like microaggressions within that relationship that it's like, it's just not worth it, in my opinion. Like, do I really care what people say? No. But do you want to consistently hear the disrespects? Like, no. So
right,
it's such an onion, like you just peel back like
one
layer after another one after another one, and it just gets like,
what doesn't make sense to me. Sorry. What doesn't make sense to me is that black men have an issue. I'm sorry, it doesn't make any sense when black men have an issue with black women dating white men. The puzzle's it's not sticking together because you don't even like black women yourself. You don't even protect black women. Y'all the first. I've seen so many videos of black men putting their hands on black women because they denied them. You don't want black women, but you say shit like, "Oh, light-skinned women are so exotic," which makes no fucking sense because black women are everywhere. Everywhere. Black men are everywhere. Black people are the most exotic people on the planet. I can look like this and be French. I can look like this and be Japanese. So when stuff like that happen, when people say that, I challenge them all the time. I was like, okay, when the last time you went to bat for a sister? When the last time do you have mother issues? I challenge that because the way black men treat black women is disgusting. It's also tiring because, right? It's also tiring because black gay men that are not problematic, we have to put up the weight. We have to pick up the slack of heterosexual men. And also, I'm going to say this too, because I always challenge my own community. Black gay men, just because you're gay doesn't mean you have the right to disrespect a black woman. You don't have the right to put your hands on a black woman. You are still a black man. Okay.
So one thing I 100% agree with you both on that, and I think this is definitely another conversation that we need to have. I think sometimes we, as people of color, tie in multiple topics of how others need to empower us, but also how we need to empower ourselves within our own community. But one thing that I want to make clear to the audience that's watching this, I don't want you to take my, Keena, or Tyson's comments as a fuel or gasoline to fuel counter debates, like how people create all lives matter pushbacks to a Black Lives Matter cause. So we have every right to explain and have passions about things that aren't working out, but that does not give you the right as an audience member who's not a part of this group to say, hey, you hear them? They have infighting that they need to work on. So I'm not going to create jobs or create opportunities or support anything that they're doing because they got to fix that first. No, we can handle this over here. Once you give us and support us and allow us the elevation, once you cultivate more leaders and give us elevation, oh, honey, we're going to fix it. You have all these Black educated elite on this content channel right now talking, who, given more opportunities, we will pass this along. And I want to give it to Alicia to finish our question off for the night. She's going to give us our last question, and then I'm going to give us our closing thoughts, if that's okay.
Okay, so I just want to roll it back just a tiny bit to, to focusing back on the LGBTQ aspect of this in a way where we're talking about LGBTQ members of the community that might not be Black or that might not be people of color. And obviously we don't want to get into that rhetoric of like, I'm going to ask you how I can be a better ally. Like we're not going to do that. But how what are the steps that need to be taken first so that this community can be more inclusive towards people of color and more specifically towards Black people? Yes, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay.
I didn't see your finger there because that little face is in the corner.
Like you said, stop asking us how to be a better white person.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah.
Recognize that white supremacy is not our issue. Racism is not our issue. It's your issue. That you started. We didn't start this divide. You guys did. And if you guys, especially the companies, because white gays own everything, stop coming to me about how to solve the problem when you don't want to give me a raise, when you don't want to give me the platform, when you don't want to step down and let me have the position to put that change forward. Right. Y'all just want to do like we said earlier, the token Black guy. You want me to be the token Black guy, and just to be in that room full of white faces, mostly men, old wrinkly old men, But you don't want to really solve the issue. You want to put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And a small ass Band-Aid, them little skinny ass Band-Aids. I'm still bleeding. So stop
not a
asking me. Stop asking me how to solve the issue when you don't want to give me the platform, the money, the position to actually solve the problem.
Right. You want people in the seat, right? You want somebody want somebody to give you the table and say that
the whole table.
Period.
And let me bring whoever the table there to the table. Like I feel like this diversity, like, a diversity hire, right? Like, does that really bring diversity to your business? No. Does that bring diversity to your corporation, organization? No. You just put a face in a corner because you didn't give them a position of power. You didn't empower them to bring on other diverse people. Like when it comes to Black trans women, we're gonna hire a Black trans woman to do what? Be your community liaison? Oh, so you want her to just be in the community, but she can't be in corporate. In the corporate part, no, she can't make change. She can't impact laws, or regulations or rules to make sure people like her are properly represented, appreciated, respected in the business. Oh, okay. But she can be your community liaison. Oh, she can talk to other people like she can be your PR. She can be the face of things that make you look diverse, but she has no say. So like that's what companies need to do, put people in positions where they can actually bring upon change. Not your face makes us look inclusive, so we're going to put you on this poster, but like you're not in any meeting that actually brings about any change.
Right. And I think too, it's like so important to like kind of what we're saying is we don't want just a seat at the table. We want like the whole company. You know what I mean? Like we want diverse companies. We want funding for diverse companies. We want people in board seats. You know that. Yeah.
And I think as we close the night, I would like to leave myself last with closing thoughts. But I would like to start with everyone. If Kina, you want to give your closing thoughts, and then Tyson, and then Alicia, and then I'll close it with my final thoughts.
I just my closing thought will be to double down on what PJ said. Don't use our rhetoric about the interworkings of the Black community as reason to continue with white supremacy. And that's all I care to say at the end of this.
Tyson?
Oh, okay. Basically, just realize, I want everyone to realize that it's okay to, or have been anti-Black. It's okay that that's been put in your head before you even knew how to walk and talk. It's been put in your head. And also, if we want real change, we're going to need more platforms like this, and we're going to need people to fund platforms like this so we can start the conversation and stuff like that. And white people are always going to white people. So don't worry about them using our words against us, because that's just what they do when they feel threatened, even though they like to say, it's reverse racism, or there is never mind. My words get jumbled. But basically, I just want everybody to still put in the work. I know all of us cannot be on the front lines protesting. Just put in the work, whether it be a tweet, a post, change.org, sign a petition. And also, I just want everyone to just love on each other. Take the time to love yourself. Healing is for everyone. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter where you come from. Healing is for every fucking one. Okay? Mm-hmm. And fuck white supremacy. I'm done.
So many snaps. Well, I just want to thank you all for being here and for, coming on the show. And I'm just thankful that we have this platform to dedicate this time to something that is so important, obviously. And I, obviously as someone that is white, I acknowledge my privilege to even be able to even listen to you all talk about this, and to be on the panel. And I hope that we can do a lot more things like this going forward. So thank you guys.
So my closing thought, as we wrap up the night, goes out to Lisa, our executive director, who's been watching and making messages a part of this. In her one of her notes, she said, "I hear and see you. I'm so proud of you for speaking your truth, and want you to know, we want you to continue this conversation with love and admiration." This is our executive director who runs our company. She's been there longer than I've been there, and I've been there for 4 years. This is Hope and Help is Caucasian-led. It's LGBT-led. And the thing about it is, the one thing I will give up to our company over and over again is that they allow us to have unfiltered content like this on our main channel, where we are not being appropriated. We are not being censored. We are not being told this is the white content. We were given the freedom to create this, to find who we wanted to be on this channel, and to speak our truth as a community. So let me take this opportunity again, just echo what everyone is saying, and Alicia, what you're saying, by thanking our lovely guests for being here. And again, thanking Lisa, our executive director, for allowing us to be unfiltered on here and continuing to push the narrative of anti-white supremacy.
Yes.
Yes.
So I appreciate all of you. Please look up our guests. Please check out Kina at the Center, and please check out Tyson. His link is below.
All right. Yes, and we'll pin any social channels or anything like that to the comments so that you guys can easily find them. And please tune in next week when we're going to be talking about harm reduction. It's going to be great. Love you all. Stay safe.
Have a good night.
Thank you for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.